Alright, hey guys, it's the Horror Junkies of Utah coming at you today to talk about our weekly podcast of The Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 6, Always Accountable. I'm going to go ahead and throw this right over to Alex and get his initial thoughts on this whole episode. I think he enjoyed it a little bit better than I did, so let's see what he thought. Hey Alex, what do you think of this episode?
I liked it. I didn't think it wasn't an amazing episode, but I think it set up a lot of stuff. There's a lot of interesting things going on. A huge step up from last week, but then again, I mean, a blender recorded for 20 minutes is a step up from last week's episode. There's a lot of substance going on, a lot being told. I thought the pacing was pretty good. There's some stuff in it I still have gripes about. But with all that being said, it's one of the better episodes in the last few seasons.
You think so?
Yeah, I do.
Wow. See, I got my gripes with this one, and one of them is I'm so sick of. We get a lot of new characters introduced, and then they're dead in 2 seconds. Like I feel like here's a new character, and fuck, they're dead.
Yeah, no. I mean, like I said, I have gripes with it, and that was one of them. And we can kind of talk about more of it as the episode goes. But this was a case where I don't feel like these guys, except for the spoiler alert, the girl who got eaten.
We won't say what girl.
Yeah, but I think they're going to be recurring characters. And it's just because some of the dialogue that they were exchanging with Daryl that kind of came back a few different times. And obviously, with what happens at the end, I don't think we've seen the last of them. So
You're talking about our two survivors out of the three, the ones that steal Daryl's bike?
Yeah, you spoiled the end. I think those two people are coming back, and I think back to the episode where Rick initially banishes Carol to live in that little neighborhood. Those characters are one-off characters. That's usually what I think of. I think of characters just kind of show up and then they're gone. I mean, even though the male was there for the terminus, I don't really consider that a recurring character. So I think where there's been a lot of one-off characters, I don't think this is the last time we're going to see these two. If anything, I think since you've already spoiled that, I can't see Daryl without his crossbow. It's just
everyone keeps getting mad at me for spoiling stuff. Oh well, Marcus is a spoiler.
Okay, spoilers have begun now. We haven't started talking about the episode.
I know we haven't even started talking about the episode, so let's talk about it. We got kind of out of the way of what your initial thoughts and my initial thoughts were. But so the episode opens up. And obviously, we are following Daryl primarily in this episode. What do you think of his situation and what he's going through? I mean, well, we're following both. I mean, we're following Daryl and Abraham and Sasha. And they go through a ordeal it happens real quick. I almost didn't know what was happening. But basically, the ordeal, they're, spoiler, getting ambushed.
Oh, we presume at this point that you watched it. This isn't like the episode last week. This one, I think, even if you don't like it, is worth watching. Whereas last week's, you could skip that one out.
Yeah, definitely. But so this group though, who do you think this group is? I mean, are they the Wolves or is it an entirely different clan now that we're dealing with?
So my initial thought was I thought Wolves. But then you think back to the episode where they break into Alexandria, they don't have guns.
Exactly, and these people have an arsenal.
Yeah, these guys have guns, they have cars, they're a little bit more well-organized. I think they're with Negan, a character who's really popular. If you don't know the comics, you've heard the name. So I think they're with him, and obviously we learn more about that kind of as the season goes on. But at first I thought, Wolves, oh wait, no, they seem to be a little bit less organized. They didn't have guns, they had axes and sticks and W's on their foreheads, and that was kind of it. They didn't have guns and automatic weapons.
It's interesting, though, because I believe it's Sasha and Abraham get talking, and they think that was set up for someone else, not them, right?
I don't recall, honestly. The thing I got from that was, first off, when the episode opens, it immediately starts with Sasha laying on the pile of zombies at the beginning. So my initial thought was this would be a very Sasha and Abraham centric episode, and I think the other thing I was thinking was because they have a tendency to pad things out, I thought this would be an entire episode dedicated to those two characters. And then another episode dedicated entirely to Daryl. I think that's another reason that leads to why I like this episode so much. I have the expectation of a padded episode like last week's, and another padded episode following down. It seemed they condensed all that into a nice 44-minute. 44-minute thing, but I liked it kind of reaffirmed what I was thinking, and it does through the episode of that the Abraham all of a sudden has the hots for Sasha, and so I think the difference is Sasha gets very suspicious of people, and Abraham is kind of the macho alpha male guy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So she's a little bit more cautious, and he's a little bit more reckless. Which he takes that knife out, which might as well have been his dick when he's like extra polished, and gives her that look.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Like, what are you doing? What are you thinking? And that comes into play later in the episode. Initially, I just thought, he's gonna take her bones out. They're gonna bang. They're gonna have sex in the episode at some point.
Do you think they're slowly developing a romance though, these two characters? I think Abraham definitely has shown that he's got it out for her, but he's like, yeah, I can tell, babe, pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean,
the end. Well, not to be one of those comics. In the comics, they do this. He does have the hots for somebody else in the comics.
Okay.
But I think even with this episode, they initially, right off the bat, we have this set up with Abraham. He calls back to him, yeah, I'm going to go with you in the car. You don't have to go with me in the car. I'm going to go with you in the car. And then they end up getting stranded together, and he gives her that, hey, what's up? You want to see me stab some dude?
Okay, so what do you think about Daryl's? His character's evolving in a way that I didn't see when the whole series, back to the beginning of this, he was always very alone, and now he's getting more trustworthy over this progression. But do you think he's become too trustworthy now? Do you think he's gone too soft? Because he kind of set himself up on this second situation that happens to him.
See, I guess I kind of see that progression, but I think what's interesting is this episode made me realize a lot of why people really like this character, because he has this very understanding personality. He started off, with Merle, and then there's redneck boys, and they're just tough, and then you come to realize it was all a front. So I think it was his character the whole time. If you think back to when he was talking to Beth about getting meth from some kid, and he reveals a lot about himself over the seasons, his love for Carol, his love for Beth.
Yeah.
I think it's who he is as a person, and it's one of the things that I liked about this episode too is it seems like this episode and the episode with Eastman and Morgan and some other stuff in this episode with Abraham and Sasha is they're really starting to talk about the individual code of ethics for how people live in this world.
You mean in even the group that Daryl ends up running into, they kind of mention that as well. You have your rules and standards, and we have ours. Is that what you're talking about?
Right, and that's one of the reasons why I like this episode is I think we're so used to Rick's outlook on the world. We're now starting to kind of
piece together other people.
Have the viewers questioning what Rick's doing because we're learning about everybody else's way of life. We're learning more about Morgan and his. Here's why he doesn't hurt people. And he went from this lunatic, and now every life is precious. And we learn from Daryl and this group that we don't kill because we want things to go back to the way they were, not how they are now. And you learn about Sasha's outlook, which is completely different, and Abraham's, which is just fuck them all, kill everybody.
So I'm very confused.
So that's one of the reasons why I like this episode. It feels like it's tying in this theme of how individual characters view this zombie apocalypse nightmare, whereas we've been so used to the way that Rick handles it. So I think that's kind of a cool dynamic of this episode.
I don't think I have a solid grasp on Sasha's character's outlook yet, though. One time I thought she's really suicidal and reckless and just wants to die after all the things that happened to her, and now she's getting almost back to this, I don't want to say like humanistic viewpoint, but with Abraham, he's being more reckless lately, and she's like, "You dumbass, you don't have to get out of the car and do this stuff, and you're leaving breadcrumbs." And she's thinking, I think, more intelligent than Abraham is, where he's just kind of almost out to prove himself.
Right, and I think that she kind of went from that no hope for humanity to almost a lone wolf, very tactical way of dealing with, again, the apocalypse. And it's so cool because it ties in everybody's kind of mantra of how they handle the zombos and the people in the world of the zombos.
Oh yeah, definitely. And everyone's different, and every group's different. And I think one thing we do have to talk about is in this episode, and you brought it up, there's so many things that just go right. And you're just kind of like, really?
Yeah, I mean, we're really jumping around now. But this first happened when... my first thought of this is when Daryl is going through the bag and he finds insulin. My first thought is... I looked it up, and I looked up on the Walking Dead Wikipedia. They estimate that this is 552 days into the zombie apocalypse. They just have to be carrying around this nice cooler, clearly marked insulin. They've just been carrying around this bag. It just seems very convenient that this woman who relies so much on insulin just happens to have
insulin on her at all times.
Of insulin. And I think some of these things are gripes, which I hate hearing, because you have to keep in mind it's a world where the dead come back to life. And
yeah, you get.
You have to throw a little bit of disbelief out the window. But my biggest one comes in at the end when Daryl just happens to
finds that truck.
Oh, cool! I put a fuel tanker full of gas. I'm going to meet at the car insurance place, which we didn't agree to meet up at. I thought, like you said, they were going to meet at a gas station. They just happened to meet up. I mean, I know Sasha writes Dixon on the back of the door, but that's in the alleyway. I presume he's not driving up and down alleyways looking for where we. And that doesn't mean he didn't write.
Well, and then the other thing I'm thinking,
Dixon on like the big wall, but she's not about leaving breadcrumbs. So it's okay.
Yeah, no breadcrumbs, but here's this like graffiti right on a door. The thing I don't understand, and I try not to be too gripey either because it is a TV show and it's here for our entertainment, but how long's this truck been sitting here? It's got someone who presumably died in the truck and turned all rotten dead Walker, and the truck still starts? Like, the battery would have been dead. There's things about this world that are coming into my mind that I'm like, come on. But then again, that's probably just one of my gripes. Yeah, he found this truck, but I just don't see how some of these things work. Anyways, back to the chronological stuff on the episode. So where we left off is, so now we got Sasha and Abraham in this, I don't know what to call it. You think it's a car insurance sales place?
Yeah, it was a car insurance place. Before you get too far, though, back to the stuff that I liked about this episode.
Okay.
And your gripe with the people, we just meet these people and we don't, why the fuck do we care about them? And my initial thought, when they find I think it was like a truck yard, there were a bunch of trucks there, they're just, oh no, Patricia, is she okay? Oh, you don't have to go in there because of me. Oh, I'll tell them and you guys get away. And the whole time, Daryl's framed almost perfectly in the middle. And he just kind of has this lookout way about him and then just slips away. And it's one of those things that I really liked because I am with you so much about how much I hate their backstory. It's so useless. I don't care what happened to these people in their life. I don't care who they're running from or what happened to them beforehand. But at least this time it's set up as a way to them reminiscing about this woman. It's a distraction. It's not just there to pad time. We kind of see Daryl
takes advantage of the situation.
He's looking at the bag. And then as soon as she collapses, he makes his move. And so that was one of the things I really liked about that scene. Because I'm with you that whole time. I don't care. I don't care, Patricia. Just fuck her. She's dead. Move on. Fuck him. I don't care. Oh. He's kind of been hanging out there in that. Oh. And it was just a great way to instead pad the episode, pretend they're padding the episode, and actually use it in a rhetorically thought out move.
So was the character's name that ends up getting bit, jugular kind of ripped open type deal, is her name Patricia?
No, I think Patricia was someone who they were...
referring to.
Yeah, they were worried about inside of that camp.
Okay, so...
Honestly, I can't think of any of their names. I don't even remember them being uttered.
I have a gripe about that whole death scene, too, man. It was just... Okay, do zombies just sleep and stay in bags till people just come around and get really close and take advantage? Like...
Yeah.
If they were zombies, wouldn't they be moving around, getting up, not just, we're sitting here.
Yeah, making noise in there.
Yeah. But I mean, I get it. It was a jump scare. It was like a thing set up. And let's kill this character off in a really surprising way and stun everybody. But then even when it happened, I was like so disconnected with the character that I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, whatever. So.
All right, we can get back on to the Sasha and Abraham thing. I just didn't want to skip over that because that was one of the things that I really liked about the episode because it played off with that.
What about
they're in
Sasha?
the insurance office.
Okay, so they're in this insurance office, and I thought something that was really interesting is, so they get in there, they're getting ready, and they find that one zombie kind of locked away in that room.
Yeah.
I don't know how you sleep through that or even are comfortable. They're so desensitized, obviously.
Right.
And then
I think I've talked about this before. Maybe I haven't. I never talked about it with you, but I'm sure many people have heard of the Nostalgia Critic, and he talked about what makes the show so scary, and it's the fact that they're more worried about what's happening outside than this thing trying to eat them right in front of them.
Right next to them.
It's like they're so, like I said, they're so desensitized, and I think this is one of those scenes that really brought me back to that idea of they're running from people, out hunting people, and then there's this monster that doesn't care, just wants them fucking dead. It's right there. She's just, hey, he can't get out, so fuck him. Let him hang out, and we can watch him. Go ahead and take a nap.
Let me talk about this then. So while we're on this whole Sasha and Abraham thing, Abraham goes out on his own. And he finds this zombie that's just impaled on like a fence post with an RPG. What was up with that? Did Abraham just have like a nervous meltdown right there where he's like getting in the zombie's face and just like, you know?
What I liked about that shot is the framing of it. It was his head, and there was white behind him. It was almost like something you'd see for Jesus or a figure. And so I thought my thought was that it was a reflection of him after talking to Sasha about, what's the point of killing these mindless guys? You don't want to leave a trail. So he was crawling across there, that fence, and thinking the whole time, I don't have to kill this guy. I just want this
RPG.
I don't have to kill him. I just want what he has on his backpack. And then he just freaks out because he's Abraham. He's just this angry dude who wants everyone to be dead and fuck these guys for all the stuff that they've caused to him and everyone else in the world. And then he gets the amazing loot drop of an RPG and a box of cigars. And of course he got a box of cigars.
I know, right? Just pure, they're perfect condition, box of cigars. And like you said, we're 600 days into this or 500?
Yeah, 550 plus.
These things haven't even been weathered. But, I mean, I guess, what the hell, it's entertainment.
Another part I liked before that was when Daryl is running with those people. He takes the wooden figure, takes their gun, and then he goes back to being Daryl, where he's this kind-hearted, nice guy. And in that part is where he says, "You're going to be sorry." It's the first time, too, he says it in the episode.
Yeah.
And he turns around and has to bail him out. And again, I think that's a good callback to what his character really is this nice, trusting person deep down inside. He's not the type of guy who Merle was. He's deep down, even before this happened, he was a caring and compassionate guy.
Versus...
Along with that, I like when the guy gets bit and the guy just says, "Cam got a boo-boo."
Yeah, the whole end, or that whole end to that.
His arm off. Cam got a boo-boo.
We got to go home. We're done. I mean, but was that zombie like stuck on a rock or stuck in a tree? What was up with that?
I think he was just either pinned down or caught, stuck.
He's like, cut it off. He's like, what about your watch, man? Or something like.
He takes his watch over his severed arm.
Oh, that was good. It was good. Now, so we were talking about this group that we've come into contact with, and obviously we don't know much about them, and they're more organized than this Wolves group. And you mentioned this character that's coming up that's played a big role in the comic books, and his name is Negan.
Negan with an N.
Negan.
Yes, sir.
And I just seen that they officially cast that role. Can I ask you real quick what you think about the character that was cast for him? Do you know who it is?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
What do you think about that casting?
Every time I see him, this will be hard. I see him and I always think he's Javier Bardem from No Country for Old Men.
Uh-huh.
Every time I see him. But from what I've seen him, and he's very good. Most people, I think, recognize him as the comedian from The Watchmen, which he was very good in. He was in The Losers, which I remember vaguely.
I think he even played some roles in that Grey's Anatomy show, didn't he?
I think so, but I don't watch Grey's Anatomy, so I don't know. But from the things I've seen him in and everything I've heard, that he's a very good actor. He fits the role with his stature, but I think we've hinted at before that I don't think that's the most important thing in the world.
Yeah.
You have to look like the character to be good. You just kind of have to be and bring out that character.
So we have that split that's going to be coming up pretty soon where they take a break over Christmas. When is that? That's 2 more episodes or 1?
I think it's 2. I think they do 16 episodes. They do 8 and 8.
Do you think they're going to introduce his character before this season ends, or do you think we're going to have to wait till season 7?
According to IMDb, he is in episode 6.16.
Gotcha. So he is coming up sooner or later. Do you have any last words on this episode? I mean, anything that really blew your mind?
I do like that Daryl brought 3 questions back.
Okay.
I thought that was really, really cool. Not something I was expecting. I wish they would do that more when they ran into people, because I think that's such a... In essence, it's all I need to know about the characters that you find out in the wild. The only thing I need to know is how many walkers have you killed, how many people have you killed, and why did you kill those people?
And we haven't been forced with that question for a while, and he did bring it back.
Yeah, and I thought that was an awesome callback. Like I said, they should do it more. I don't need to know about the Patricia. I don't care about your house that got burned down. Mm-hmm. Just ask you some questions. That's all I really need to know.
In the very end of this episode, we get a radio call, though. What did you think about that, and who do you think that is?
Okay, so initially, my thoughts were Rick and Glenn.
Okay.
I've read that Norman Reedus said that it wasn't Glenn, but
that's what I heard as well.
Who knows? You can only take that kind of stuff so seriously, because sometimes they're just fucking with you.
Yeah, I think this whole fucking season's fucking with us.
Right. And my question to you in relation to that is, what do you think the significance was of Abraham looking in the rearview mirror just before the radio signal?
Okay, so I think that someone is trailing them, possibly from this group that we've come in contact with. But I also think that Abraham's really kind of paranoid as well. But I think it's going to, in our upcoming episode, if we don't totally switch characters again and go to another side story that all intertwines in together, if we leave off if we start where we left off, I think it will end up being they're being tailed by someone. And that's just my opinion. I think they're going to bring more havoc back to Alexandria, and it's already been hit so hard and by a group that was so ruthless, but in the same time so under-prepared. And if this group follows them back with their guns and their vehicles, they're going to have a rough time at it. But that's what I thought of it. What did you think of that?
I thought it was a nod to the opening scene, because I really like the opening cut of them driving with all the walkers behind them.
Yeah, that was really cool.
And I think it's almost a new beginning for Abraham. He's got the military suit on, which he took all the medals off, looking very sharp, and he's very much into Sasha now, and almost like everything's back. It's a new day, and everything's gonna be great.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Abraham isn't a military guy in essence, is he?
I believe he's a military guy.
Ex-military guy?
Yeah.
Okay. He always came off that way, but I don't ever remember an explanation whether he really was or isn't. I just remember the last time we seen like a episode that played back on his past, we had what's his bucket coming up to him in the supermarket thing after he lost everything.
Right.
And he's like,
Eugene.
help me. Eugene, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then Abraham just turned into the badass that he is, but sometimes I think he's a little reckless, but...
Speaking of reckless, I was really hoping when that zombie on the pole fell down that he would have fallen down with the rocket launcher and just would have exploded.
Yeah, I was hoping the same thing, but the rocket launcher was there, the RPG, whatever. But I thought it would be so awesome if he fell down and then we just see a fireball come up into Abraham's face. Just boom! Oh, shit. That would have been excellent. Oh, man. Well, so I think we covered this episode pretty well. There's not too much more to talk about. Go ahead and put your thoughts in the comments below if you have any. Do you have any last words?
Yes, one more.
Okay.
Just one more. We were talking about the guy caught in the glass room.
Okay.
That's it. I provided value. I pray for the world. Pray for the world. Keep going. Stay careful. The bites kill. That's what was written on the whiteboard.
It was.
Do you have any idea of why they would focus on that?
No, I don't, but I find it interesting that they did focus on it so much. I mean, they left it there for a minute, and I actually had to pause my screen, go back. I was kind of like in and out of it, and then I seen that. I was like, oh, hang on. Rewind. What did that say? And I don't know if it's just kind of like their message to us, like if it really has that much significance. But like you said, they totally pull focus from the zombie right to that whiteboard. Yeah. And obviously, I'm guessing that Walker was human at one time and wrote that. And so, I mean, I don't know if it's going to come back huge. It's kind of like when we talked about the rabbit's foot in Morgan's episode, how they focused on that a little bit. I don't know, man. It seems like they focus on some things and bring other things back and forget things.
Yeah, we had talked about how they tend to try and call things back. And with the rabbit foot, I had no idea that he left that at the altar where they were locked up. I had no idea that was the hot sauce and the other stuff. The bullet left from Morgan. And I couldn't, for the life of me, think of why that would be written, because it's information that we obviously already know. And I don't remember any of that dialogue being repeated when Sasha kind of had her soapbox monologue.
Yeah. I don't either. So, I mean, you got me, but they did focus on it, and I don't know.
And then the last thing I'll add is I loved the stock images on the wall in that office. If you pause it, one of them is a Fiat car on a giant stack of coins, like it's driving up a mountain of coins.
I didn't even notice.
That was funny.
The things you notice in these are just way
generic,
out there.
Just generic. I saw hands with a car in the middle, and I paused because I wanted to see what it was, and I just saw the little slug bug Fiat car driving with coins. I thought it was...
Fiat's paying for advertising, man. I don't know. Anyways, you guys, we are the Horror Junkies of Utah, and we enjoy doing this episode on The Walking Dead. Like I said, let us know what you thought. Go ahead and check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. We're on all 3 of those. We're always sharing interesting stuff. I am Marcus, and I have my guest on this series,
Alex.
Yeah, good old Alex. You guys have a wonderful, great night. We will talk to you next week. See you later.